The Pentagon is reviewing plans for a military parade at the request of President Trump. The president witnessed a military parade in France on Bastille Day last year and called it one of the greatest parades he had ever seen. The White House says the event would allow all Americans to show their appreciation to America's service members. Joining us now, Chris Plante, host of the Chris Plante Show and former CNN Pentagon correspondent. Welcome back. A little garbling your introduction there. Excuse me. All right, the media are going crazy over this military parade story.
They are.
Nuts, absolutely nuts. Senator Graham calls it cheesy. Secretary Mattis says it shows respect. Which is it?
Well, look, we've been at war for longer than we have ever been at war in the history of the country. We have millions of Americans that have served overseas since September 11th. President Trump was in France. He saw a parade. I don't hear liberals in the United States or the media condemning France for having their annual parade, and they haven't won a war since 1812. They've got people marching in the streets. They've got airplanes overhead, red, white, and blue contrails. Everybody has a nice time. They go off and have a glass of wine. It's no big deal. That's fine. Why not do it here? Show a little respect for the military. Look, the Democrats, if they're upset about it, can have an anti-military parade on the other side of town.
Ooh, boy, did I hit a hot button topic with you. All right, let's move on to DACA. The advocates are responding to John Kelly's comments, chief of staff. He got into it a little bit by saying too lazy. They are too lazy or too stupid or too afraid to sign up for President Obama's plan. So what is going to happen with this? You know, I talked to somebody yesterday who said, it was a Hispanic leader who met with John Kelly, saying he really understands immigration. And that he's not the bad guy here, is he?
Oh, of course not. He's a smart guy, he's a serious guy, and nothing gets you in trouble in Washington like telling the truth. So what the general said, what John Kelly said, White House Chief of Staff, is obviously true. There was a very generous offer made by the Obama administration. If you're in the country illegally, you can get square with the law, at least for the time being. All you have to do is fill out this form. And apparently 1.2 million people that were eligible to fill out the form didn't bother to fill out the form. I mean, if it were tax evasion, and they say, we have an amnesty for tax evaders, evaded taxes for the last 20 years, just come down and fill out this form. If you don't do if you don't do it, you're lazy. I mean, how obvious is this? And everybody, of course, the news media, it's racist, it's insensitive. It's obviously true. We should probably start with that as a point of consideration before we go off all these other avenues.
You know, you worked at CNN for a long time, and I was struck by the fact that they scooped up Josh Campbell, who was the FBI special assistant to the director.
Right.
Why did they hire him within 48 hours of him leaving?
It looked almost as though the arrangement had been struck before he announced his departure, and they have their flyers out in the halls of the FBI to join Josh as he heads off to defend the bureau at CNN. Now, I mean, honestly, it's another indicator that the FBI has been terribly politicized. Not just Josh leaving, going to CNN. It's pretty obvious where CNN's leanings are these days, and have been for a long time, but now more than ever. And it's just another obvious incident, another grain on that side of the scale that indicates that the FBI and the Justice Department have been politicized and not in favor of President Trump and Republicans. I mean, honestly, the FBI, which raised hell officially and unofficially about the Republican memo, the Devin Nunes memo being released last week, remained completely silent at the prospect of a memo 2.5 times as long being released by the Democrats out of the same committee. And anybody remember the Sherlock Holmes story, Silver Blaze, I think it was, the dog that didn't bark? The FBI was the dog that didn't bark on this, and there are red flags going up all over the place at the FBI.
We're going to have to leave it there. Chris Plante, host of the Chris Plante Show, former CNN Pentagon correspondent. We'll see you again soon. Thank you.